All right, so today we're going to learn how to factor ax squared plus bx plus c. So what you guys are going to notice that's different about today is that instead of having just x squared in front, we're going to have a number out in front today. Those of you guys watching the recording at home, feel free to hit pause at any time. That way you can copy down what you're missing. So what we're going to do for example 1 is we're going to look at the question and ask ourselves this really important question. I want you to highlight this question. I want this question to be at the top of your classwork today, at the top of your homework today. You always need to ask yourself this question first when starting with problems where you see that your A is not a 1. So do we see today how it's a 5, it's not a 1. So if there's not a number there, if there is a number there other than 1, you ask yourself, do all 3 of my terms have anything in common? Is there anything I can pull out in front? And in this case, I can pull out a 5. So if I pull out a 5, I'm left with x squared plus 3x plus 2. The reason we always ask ourselves that question first is because number 1, it makes your numbers smaller that you're dealing with. And number 2, if you can end up with an x squared, we love that because that means we can go straight to the diamond and get my answers. So I'm looking for what number multiplies to 2 and adds to 3. I'm asking what 2 factors multiplies to 2 but adds to 3. So my 2 answers will be a 2 and a 1. So when I write my factors, I'm going to say x plus 2 times x plus 1. But I do have to take that 5 that I pulled out in front from the very beginning and put a 5 right there. So this would be my final solution. So again, I cannot stress enough that I really need you to write this step on top of your classwork and homework, because if you do that first, it's going to save you a lot of trouble if you are able to go straight from here into your diamond. You'll see what I mean on the next slide when you learn what to do if your A is not a 1. So there's a couple more steps involved. All right, there we go. We're recording. So on this example, first question, ask yourself, is there a number that all 3 of them have in common that I can pull out in front? Is there? No, there isn't one. So this one is different than the last problem. In this case, we're going to go straight to my diamond. Go ahead and do a diamond with me. Now, with the diamond, we say that the top number is always multiplied, and it still is multiplied, but the numbers you multiply are A times C. We were doing that yesterday, but think about what value was always right out in front yesterday. What number was always there? A 1. So it never changed that number, right? It was always just whatever number was there. Today, it's going to affect my number that goes on the top. So go ahead and put A times C on the top. And your B value or your middle value goes on the bottom. This is still starting to look like yesterday, how we can still pick out my factors. See if you can think of 2 numbers that multiply to 12, but add to 13. Everybody says, what are they?
12 and 1.
12 and 1. Excellent. Here's the problem. If I try and take these and I put them into my factors, you don't do this, just watch. This is not that. Think about why not. X times x is not 4x squared. Do you guys see that? I didn't get that. So when your A is not 1, I have one new additional step that I have to do today. Diamond works the same. Our second step is what's going to change. So let me erase this one little part. I don't think it's going to let me. That's fun. Nope. Okay, I'll put a box over it. When in doubt, you have a make it work moment. There we go. All right, so let's try this. We are going to take these numbers from the box, and we have to now put them into the square. Remember how when we were multiplying things out, I said we're going to come back and use that square a lot this chapter? We're going to start using the square. Here's how. These 2 factors go into your square on the diagonals. So the 2 factors that we found from the magic diamond go back into your square on the diagonals. Think about why that makes sense just real fast. Because on the diagonal, what did we always do to the diagonal? They were like terms, so we would do what? Add them, and they would give you that middle term. So that makes sense. These are going to be my two middle values. Now, where do the other two come from? The first one is your 4x squared. And then my bottom box is the 3. So watch what you're going to do now. We are going to undo the box, meaning we're going to pull out what common factors do they have each direction. What do they have in common? So you're going to look this direction and pull out what they have in common. Look this direction, pull out what they have in common. We're factoring. We're factoring from the box. So we're undoing the multiplication. So I'm going to go this direction first. So a 4 and a 12, what do they have in common?
4.
A 4. Good job.
And an x.
One has an x, one has an x squared. So what do they have in common?
1x.
1x. Good job. Excellent. Okay, let's try the next part of the box. A 3 and a 1x. There's only a little tiny thing they have in common. What is it?
1/2.
Not a 1/2. It's a 1. Yep, you can only pull a 1 out of both of them. That's it. They really don't have anything in common. Let's try going this direction. 4x squared and 1x, what do they have in common? X, good job. And then 12x and 3. Yeah, what goes into both of them? 3. Check it out. You guys just undid your box. How can we check ourselves? We can multiply. 4x times x, 4x squared. 1 times x, 1x. 4x times 3, 12x. And 1 times 3 is 3. So how are we going to write my final factors? They are here and here. So it is x plus 3 times 4x plus 1. That is the correct factors. If I do x times 4x, guess what I get? 4x squared, which is exactly what my original is showing me. So just to really quickly recap what we just did, and I'm going to use a highlighter here. When a is not a 1, you're going to do your magic diamond. You take your two side factors, and where do they go? On your diagonal. Everybody okay? You pull out the common factors, whatever they have in common, and that is what goes inside your parentheses. So we're going to try one more time with one more example, but I just wanted you to understand where those numbers come from. All right. So here's your final example. Go ahead and copy that one down. All right, so let's start with our diamond. So we're making our diamond. Now on top, a times c. So be very careful when there's negatives involved. Your a is a 2, but your c is a -7. So on top, a times c is not just a 14, it's a -14. Because you have to include the type of sign that is in front of those items. Then on the bottom, it has to add to b. So this time my b is a -5. So you need to ask yourself, what two factors belong in there that multiply to a -14, but add to a -5? Juan Luis?
-7 and 2.
So -7, +2, excellent. Now your a is not a 1. So what do we need to do? The box. Let's go ahead and stick these into the box. Your two factors are going to go on your diagonals. I'm just doing a little highlighting while you guys are working. Okay, and see if you guys can pull out what they have in common. Oops. Where's my undo? All right, so to finish up the problem, I highlighted everything in color so that way you guys can see where they belong. So again, your A term, upper left corner, your C term, lower right corner, and your two factors from the diamond go on the diagonal. Order doesn't matter. You can flip these two, their spots, and you'll get the same answer. So let's pull out what they have in common, each direction. So let's start going straight up. So 2x squared and negative 7x, what do they have in common? X, excellent. How about a 2 and a negative 7? Ooh, tricky. 2 and negative 7. If we're not sure, let's come back. Okay, let's leave that one blank for now. Let's try going this direction. 2x squared and a 2, what do they have in common? 2, fabulous. Oh, I'm missing my x. Huh, that's a 2x, right? Each of these are really your b values, so I did need to add an x in there. Nobody stopped me. Let's add an x. Okay. Now, on the bottom, check it out. What do they both have in common? Ooh, good. You caught that it was negative. Yep, a negative and a 7. Now, let's revisit this one that we left blank a minute ago. We know that this times this should give us that number. So if I have a negative 7, what needs to go there?
1.
A 1. So sometimes when they're 1s, it's kind of hard to think of. But really, when you look down, a 2 and a 7, the only thing they have in common is a 1. So it does make sense. Let's write my final answer as their factors. So 2x minus 7 times x plus 1. And you are good to go. You guys did a great job. Okay, so not bad. So if your A is not a 1, first step, can you pull anything out before you start? If the answer is no, then you got to go dive into the box. Dive into the box. That's it for the day.